big boot leg drop. Like,
right. No, but you're right, though. Hogan was a very gifted professional wrestler.
Right.
It just nobody in America got to see it unless you were in AWA, but the Japanese stuff was great. Warrior didn't even have that, though. And at this time, Hogan's kind of part-time. He's bouncing in and out. And Vince comes back for his revenge and says, hey, guess what, Warrior? You're suspended indefinitely.
Yeah.
Right.
And sends Warrior packing home. And then, Hogan being a part-timer, he lost a lot of steam. The thing with The Undertaker worked, but did work because I don't think Hogan wanted to put The Undertaker over.
He didn't.
I don't think he...
The Undertaker hurt Hogan's neck off that
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he
Such a
broke his
stiff-
neck in 3 different places.
Just such a stiff...
He broke both of his necks somehow.
Folks at home, we're being very sarcastic with this because it was the finish to a match at Survivor Series where The Undertaker won the belt for the first time. He gave Hogan a tombstone pile driver, and Hogan's head was probably a good 3 to 6 inches off the mat. And Hogan immediately started politicking as if his neck was broken. But there was no big babyface at that point. There was The Undertaker and Ric Flair that were the top heels. And
I believe this was Tuesday night in Texas as well.
Yes.
I thought it was because it was Rick slid the chair.
It was such a weird, Tuesday night pay-per-view, I believe. Or did he win it?
It was in Detroit. It was in Detroit. He won it back in Tuesday night in Texas.
Okay.
Because it was at the Survivor Series Tuesday.
All right.
Yeah.
And so, he's got no big baby face. He's just got Flair, and he's got The Undertaker, and this is kind of going into the lean years of the WWF roster because...
Lean because of the steroid trials?
Well, yep, that's exactly where we're going back again, because... So Vince has no big baby face, so the Warrior, I don't want to say he holds him up here, but the Warrior definitely squeezes Vince a little bit because he knows he's the big face and he's got to come back, and it leads to a very, and we'll talk about this, Tom, because you'll be the expert in the historian aspect of this. You go to WrestleMania, you have a great match again with Flair and Savage on that card, but the main event is Psycho Sid, another monster heel versus Hogan, because there's no other babyface, and in an attempt to get the Warrior back over, this is where they re-debut the Ultimate Warrior. Yep. And his gear is fantastic. He is tan. He's got the neon gear going and the boots and the whole production. But because of the steroid trial,
came in like somebody pinky.
Yep. The Warrior comes in 30 pounds lighter than he was when he left, which led to speculation that it wasn't the Ultimate Warrior at all. It wasn't Jim Hellwig.
Was he wearing
it was
singlets?
He gets there. He gets there.
Yeah.
But people thought he was Kerry Von Erich.
So before the internet was a thing, before memes were a thing, before things went viral, you'd have certain rumors that would go around, like with Richard Gere. There were all kinds of rumors that would just kind of go viral, and everybody's Marilyn Manson. Who needs that extra rib? Right. But they would kind of go viral somehow without any form of broadcast communication between people, and so everybody just kind of took it as a fact that in 1991 Jim Hellwig died, and in 1992 he came back. The Warrior came back as a whole different person. There was rumors that he was Kerry Von Erich, but he was actually smaller than Kerry Von Erich.
Yep, yeah, that's true.
This was the second Warrior. This wasn't Jim Hellwig. Jim Hellwig definitely passed away, and Brian Hellwig stepped up. He filled the role. That was everybody here in this room. We didn't have cell phones and we did not have computers, but we knew that there was a rumor. There was some speculation that the original Warrior died and this is a new guy. And how did that happen?
No steroids.
No. I'm talking about How did that information get spin out? Like the Richard Gere rumor.
It's dirt sheets, and there was an article. Used to be an article when I was a kid in the Detroit Free Press that dealt with wrestling rumors and innuendo. I'm sure a lot of local papers had those, but he comes back, and Vince obviously still has the sour grapes a little bit. So he wanted to turn Sid, and we've talked about Sid. Awesome, right? But he wanted Sid to be the new Hogan. Rightfully so. The guy's 6'10", 340 pounds, jacked to the gills. There's your new superhero guy.
Stupid amount of charisma.
Yeah, a ridiculous amount of charisma, just like Warrior.
Yes.
And so then
very comparable.
Warrior doesn't want to turn heel and go with DiBiase like he's supposed to, because he was supposed to win the belt, turn heel, and be managed by DiBiase. So magically, and I say magically because it's not magically, for some reason the Warrior got tested for steroids and popped positive. And
imagine that.
That was his termination right there. And I think, and I obviously wasn't in the room, but you look at all these different circumstances, and if you hurt Vince McMahon, he respects you. Mm-hmm. If you embarrass Vince McMahon, he's going to destroy you. Mm-hmm. Because there's people out there that have hurt Vince, like Jeff Jarrett.
Right.
Jeff Jarrett held up Vince McMahon for $250,000 because he was out of contract. But it's looked at like it was a savvy business move, right? And so
you got me. You won this one,
right? So I'm not going to hire you back when I buy WCW, but you're welcome back into the WWF with open arms, and here's your Hall of Fame induction, and we send you to rehab 11 times, and all the rest of the stuff. All the rest of the stuff.
And like Vince and Randy Savage had a weird
relationship
for some reason.
Speaking of rumors,
there you go.
Let's not go there.
No, we can't. We'll go there maybe another time, but we have to figure out a tactful way to talk about that. But it is obviously, and Kev, do you think Vince McMahon just used a steroid test as a cudgel to fire him because he didn't want to do what he wanted to do? Beast, do you agree? Tom?
So I don't think it was actually a steroid test that got him fired. His driver, and I'm sorry, I've listened to way too many podcasts and did way too much research on this subject. During Vince is going through the steroid trials, and he's bringing back he's getting rid of the steroid guys and bringing in, relying on Brett and Sean and being serious about it. Mm-hmm. Jim Hellwig's driver got busted for having a shipment of steroids sent to him that was intended for the Ultimate Warrior, and that's when Vince McMahon's like, no, we can't do this, you're gone. There was a zero tolerance policy for steroids at that time.
That's so true, but do you think it was like a got him now from Vince, or no?
No, because he was so quick to bring him back a couple years later. Like, I think Vince really loved the guy, but just at that time there was, Vince was looking at a very serious prison sentence. So he had a zero tolerance. For the first and only brief moment, he had a zero steroid tolerance policy.
Only for that time.
Only for that moment.
Very brief moment.
All right, we're going to go to break. We come back, we're going to talk about some interesting outside projects that the Ultimate Warrior was involved in during his time away from wrestling before 1996 when he returns. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it. But not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to Hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
Save big on brunch for mom, all in the Kroger app. Get pints of juicy blueberries for $1.99 each with a digital coupon. Then buy 2, get 2 free on 6 packs of delicious Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or 7-Up with your card. Shop these deals at your local Kroger, less than 5 miles away. Or tap the screen now to download the Kroger app to save big today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Prices and product availability subject to change. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Trading shouldn't have barriers. When Robinhood started, it was built to make trading more accessible. Now, Robinhood offers more sophisticated trading tools. Experience the future of trading on Robinhood Legend, the all-new desktop platform that harnesses intuitive design to deliver a seamless experience for traders. Free to use with a Robinhood account. The future of trading is fast, powerful, and precise. Experience it now on Robinhood Legend. Sign up today. Investing is risky. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. Other fees may apply.
Shopping for car insurance is confusing. Holy cow.
Great. Now we have a cow in our kitchen. Why did you say that?
Because I don't know what coverage to choose.
So just say the State Farm jingle. A State Farm agent can go over all your options with you and help choose coverage that meets your needs. Dude, cow, could you move?
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Agent Ginger Roy is there. Contact Ginger for a quote today.
Window Nation customers have been singing our praises for years. With fast, local service and an industry-leading 96% customer satisfaction rating, it's no wonder.
I researched window companies for the last year to see what the average prices were and the quality of work. Window Nation nailed both.
Get 2 windows free with every 2 you buy. Pay no interest for 2 full years. Hurry, this offer ends soon. Schedule a free estimate now. Call 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90NATION.
Member Week is here at Lowe's. Don't miss your chance to get up to 40% off hundreds of items like paint, outdoor and home essentials, and more. Shop our exclusive deals happening in-store and online now through May 14th. Not a rewards member? Join for free today and get ready to save more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Do you want to help kids with their feelings but aren't sure how? You're not alone. Research shows many adults struggle to support kids' mental health, but help is here. Backed by experts at the Nationwide Children's Hospital, the Kids Mental Health Foundation offers free resources to help you create a supportive environment for the kids in your life. Visit kidsmentalhealthfoundation.org for more, because kids' mental health starts with us.
With Ben Camara and Big Kev, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
We are card subject to change. Sure. I'm Big Kev. He's Ben Camara. He's the Hard Tom McClain. And he is the Great American Beast. And you know it's dinner time, so we are sponsored by Showbiz Pizza.
All right.
It
is.
Showbiz.
Do you remember, like...
You don't know the Rockefeller Explosion Band?
Come on, man.
Before Chuck E. Cheese?
Nah, man.
Showbiz Pizza, Chuck E. Cheese, and Major Magics were the same concept.
I only know one of those.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese. That's all I know. That's the only thing I got hip to.
You know, like, it's the best place to see drunk dads getting in fist fights over tickets.
Skee ball
Hey,
tickets.
Hey, check this out. I got a quick story for y'all.
All right, here we go.
I was about like 6 years old. And you know, the whole week I'm like, yeah, we better go to Chuck E. Cheese and do all this stuff. I wanted to go into the ball pit. So I lined up and go to the ball pit. They said I was too tall. Yeah.
That's terrible.
The bubble was busted that day. Wow. And my dad was like, hey, you get to play all the video games you want that day. And that I did. Ate all the pizza I wanted to. Yeah. Oh, my God. That was a great day.
The only two I knew about was Chuck E. Cheese and Discovery Zone. That was it.
Discovery Zone, I love that one, too.
Those were good ones. We are we're in the go home, aren't we?
We
are in the go home. We didn't even get through like 3 segments.
Right?
You feel like you just started because the Ultimate Warrior is such a great topic to talk about, because it's such a corny or whatever it is to say, it's such a great magical type story. The Ultimate Warrior was undeniable as a human being, right? This dude is a huge star. He's going to be a huge star. He leaves the WWF unceremoniously, and he starts to get into other projects.
He became an actor.
Became an actor in some low-budget action movies in Europe. They're not great.
He hooked up with the same agency that represented Jean-Claude Van Damme, as a matter of fact.
Because he's undeniable.
We were denied a movie starring the two of them.
Can you imagine? So we got the Dennis Rodman movie.
Double Team?
Yeah, double team.
You could have made that the mid-90s Expendables.
Right.
Yes.
It's good stuff.
Could have been Shaquille O'Neal in there.
Yeah.
Steel.
Sinbad as the comic relief. Been good stuff. But he gets into these, low-budget action films, and not enough's talked about it, what a draw he still was at independent wrestling events, because in the 90s, independent wrestling was obviously not a big-time thing, but he would go to wrestle for IWC in Spain and draw 5,000 people to an event, where he wrestled for Killer Kowalski's, IWF, International Wrestling Federation. He drew thousands of people to that event. So there was definitely still an appetite for the warrior in the ring. But at this point, if I remember correctly, and also based on my research a little bit, didn't he announce his retirement from wrestling at this time? Say, I'm done.
I think so.
He said he was done. And he decides to get into what's very nascent at the time, blogging on the internet.
I love the image that I have in my mind, and I can't recreate this, but I have this image of the Ultimate Warrior just angrily typing and yelling at the screen as he's typing. and the stuff that he types in this, he becomes a blogger.
The blog is called Warrior's Machete.
Yes.
Wow.
And he had so much great wisdom.
And think about the most extreme, insane thing you've ever seen on the internet.
Yeah.
And people have seen Rotten.com, and
I'm friends still on Facebook with one of the people from the Heaven's Gate cult.
Yeah.
It's the same style writing.
Think about the insanity you've seen on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. And the Warrior's Machete was 10 times worse than the craziest thing you've ever seen on the internet.
He made a post shortly after Heath Ledger passed away.
Oh, no.
And he wanted to congratulate Heath Ledger on finally becoming a good dad for removing the problem from his kid's life. And my only thing about how he could possibly have an issue with Heath Ledger is he once played a gay man in a movie.
We got to be careful when we talk about this, but he had some very, very, very quotable traditional views here. I think we'll save the university stuff for next week, but I want to talk about
We're playing
two things:
speeches in full.
the comic book and Warrior University.
Oh man!
All right.
There's a great clip online at Warrior University of him taking a big handful of chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that one.
Stuffing them in his mouth, chewing them up, and spitting them out all over the place, saying, if you want him to just do it for the taste, do it for the taste. Don't you swallow. And he's literally got 10 or 15 students. Because, of course, you're going to want to go to wrestling school with the Ultimate Warrior.
Right.
He's the biggest star of the 80s outside of Hogan. But he has these kids doing all of these insane things in the parking lot, handling scorpions, chewing up cookies and spitting them out. It was an exercise. I thought it was fake at first. I thought it was a joke. Because
real warriors don't swallow.
Right. That's right. But the comic book... So he does this comic book.
It's amazing.
Where, you know what? The art isn't that bad.
No.
The art is actually pretty good. Yeah. And he visions himself and he fancies himself a superhero, a real life superhero. But the plot of the comic book is as incomprehensible as a promo.
Yeah.
Because he views himself as a spirit being from another dimension.
Yeah.
Brought to Earth to save people, and just making up words all along the way.
Like dextrosity.
Dextrosity being the one.
Yes.
And I think we need to bring it back, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I think right here, right now, we need to all commit.
I think Huey Lewis wrote a song about the power of.
Yeah. The power of dextrosity, yeah.
We all come in with shirts that say dextrosity.
Dextrosity on it.
That's a conversation starter. So I will not be wearing one of those.
It is. And he is astral. He's a spirit creature in a physical form here, and then he's a physical form here, and he's fighting demons in another dimension. And I'm going to guess this guy just made this stuff up on some ayahuasca or something like that. He got into it in the wood, in the desert.
Same place Scary Gary went to.
He got in the sweat lodge.
Yeah, a
little bit of that, but like.
So before we get into all this and like start breaking down his downfall, like I just want to bring up again, he was 10 years old, had to become like his father left him. He had to become the man of the house. He was a a very skinny kid, and was picked on in high school. And
do you think that's why he fought Santa in the comics? Because they give presents.
To bring it back to like the core base of where his trauma started that made him such an irrational adult. I just wanted to base it again.
No, but you're right though, because here's the thing. And I know this is making it a little bit more of a serious tone, but young men need grown men who are positive influences in their life. We see it in America now, and I'm not trying to editorialize. Single motherhood's exploded in the last 15 years. And those teenagers that are now products of that, I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk because there's exceptions to every rule, but Kev, you work with kids.
Yeah.
Which kid's more mentally and emotionally stable? The single mom or the one comes from a nuclear family?
Single mom.
They're more mentally and emotionally stable, you think?
So most of them, like some of them are, but most, like how you said, the nuclear family, they're more stable.
Right.
There we go.
Yeah. That's what I get what you're saying.
Because sometimes the single mom,
I just wanted to make, I love laughing at this stuff because he is insane, but I also want to be like, there's a reason why he's insane.
Oh, yeah,
it's true.
10 years old, have to be the man of the house, and then being the skinny kid picked on in school.
Yeah.
Back when it used to be cool to pick on kids. Like, bullies were a thing, and they were...
And it wasn't, the bullying wasn't like how it is now, where it's just some online words.
Right.
It was like you're getting shoved into lockers.
Heads going into a toilet. Yeah. You know, it was rough. And, even going back to people that in the past 100 years, people that we think are monsters. Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Al Capone, all of them have that same story. They were all orphaned. They were all abused as children severely. They all suffered big traumatic brain injuries. And without having that guiding force in your life, a positive male mentor that's older, you just go off the reservation, right? Because not to make a pun on the Native American stuff, but like the warrior became his own god because he was untouchable. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, and I was also going to say, you don't see, everybody in this room goes to the gym regularly. Everybody in this room kind of takes their physical fitness seriously. But none of us have six packs. None of us are like
I've never had a handful
bodybuilders.
of cookies just to spit them out.
You don't see a person that is built like the Ultimate Warrior that is actually mentally stable.
Yep.
Nothing is ever good enough for a person that looks the way that he does.
Yeah.
He is never happy. He is never satisfied. He never has a moment of life is great. He never can turn that off.
He can never just eat the cookie,
right,
and enjoy life. And there's something to be celebrated with that discipline. What are you going to say, Kev?
Oh no, we're going to say that.
There's something to be celebrated about that level of discipline, especially because as a society we've gone the opposite direction of that. But to your point, Tom, you bring up a really good point. We laugh because it's insane, but it's also really sad.
Very.
It's really sad because he was just. Let's talk about another dude that was failed, Aaron Hernandez. That dude was failed every step of the way in his life, became a monster, and everyone's like, oh, look at this monster. Yeah, what he did was horrible, but people were more interested in him scoring touchdowns than getting him mental health help.
Yeah.
People were more interested, and young men of that age that in that time period that suffered, I hate to be dour, but suffered some sort of sexual abuse from an older male. And you couldn't go to Kev. You have to deal with it as a minister. Talk about it a little bit.
And it was at those times where people would be like, "Hey, you got to suck that stuff up." You got to.
Be a man about it.
Yeah, be a man about it.
Right.
Because there was no such thing as like, mental health or mental health days or anything like that.
Right.
All you had to do was just bottle it up and be a man and don't even say nothing about it.
Even current day, it's like it's starting to change, but I mean, you still, like, if you vent something, you're going to have at least 10 or 12 people
hating on you for it.
One thing that we glossed over is his initial release the first time from the WWF. Vince McMahon is very good at fulfilling the father role, especially to a guy who's never had one. So he looked at Vince McMahon as a father. He really looked up to Vince McMahon. And yes, he did, like, he wrote out this whole long letter and sent it to Vince and was like, I need this, this, and this, or I'm not doing SummerSlam. So Vince was like, cool, here's the money that I offered you that you want. Get the match in the ring. And as soon as he's done, he basically fires him. And he does it with a letter that basically is like, you're not as good as you think you are. You are not as big as you think you are. You built yourself up. And, like, the letter that he gave to the Ultimate Warrior to terminate him or to suspend him really was cutting, was really something, like, very personal. And I don't know that the Warrior ever recovered from his first real father figure cutting him down like that.
Yep. That's a really great point, Tom. That's a really good observation. And I think, he wanted to keep the Warrior going. He wanted to keep it in the spotlight. And he tried to do it with this comic book. And, I mean, the storyline was unhinged. The art's fantastic. It's a really well-drawn comic book, but it's incomprehensible as to what he's trying to accomplish there. And with Warrior University, he wasn't making wrestlers. And looking at the footage, and we'll post some of it on the Facebook page, it's almost like, please don't hate me, he wanted to start a cult based around the Warrior.
Also, at this point in time, he released like Warrior Fitness or something like that. And what you would think is, like, it's a video of him, like, doing workouts and stuff, but, like, it's like a 72-minute audio version of him just yelling motivational stuff at you while you're supposed to be working out. Like, you put this in your headphones and have the Warrior just in your ear. Like,
he knew what worked for him, and he thought it would work for everybody.
Right.
And not everybody's...
And like, we all go to the gym to feel better so we can sit for 2 hours and talk and not hurt. like, that's why I go to the gym. Like, I have no ideals of, like, wanting my bicep to rip my t-shirt or sleeve. Like,
nope, you're right about that. And it's just like all this stuff, he's just kind of lost at sea at this point because he's just trying to take stabs in the dark as to, like, what can I do next? We got a couple minutes left, and thanks for hanging with us because we're all very passionate about this subject, and we're going to keep it going next week. But what does the Ultimate Warrior mean to you? And we'll start with Kev. What does the Ultimate Warrior as a character mean to you, Kev?
As a character?
What does the Ultimate Warrior mean to you?
Colorful.
Colorful? That's a good one.
I'll say colorful because, he had all the every color that you could think of. He had on him.
Yep.
And the character and the charisma that he had, it was just all there. Charismatic as well.
Charismatic, intense. What did the Ultimate Warrior mean to you as a character, Beast? Like,
I mean, like, from the first time I saw him, he was one of the first, if not the first, that was, like, a legitimate larger than life character. Like, because you still had Hulk Hogan, and it's like, yeah, this dude's a muscle bound, like adrenaline junkie, but Ultimate Warrior did not seem of this earth.
Yes.
So, like, with the way he talked, the way he presented himself, the way he looked, like, he seemed very much what a pro wrestler should be. Like,
yeah, when you're drawing up the blueprint, like we talk about, Warrior's definitely one of those. What does the Warrior mean to you, Die Hard?
So he was the first guy that I got to watch start in World Class Championship Wrestling and then make it to the biggest stage of them all. he is, you know, I am capable of separating the wrestling character from the person portraying the character. So whatever flaws that he has, I don't factor into any of this. He was perfect for the time. He was of the late 80s, early 90s. You couldn't envision it. And like all the pomp and circumstance that we have today featured around entrances and ring gear and all the elaborate stuff that we have today he was kind of ground zero for that.
Yeah.
You know, Hulk Hogan had a big entrance, but like he never changed his look. He never, you know, it was very formulaic. Running around the ring, doing something different, being original, changing up your gear 100% almost every time you got into the ring was nothing that was done before. Taking the money that you were making and investing into your character was not something that was done before. In a lot of ways, he opened up the floodgates and the creativity. Like he was the forefather of that. Like, I don't know, he's everything. He was, when you think of it, he had such a small run, this insignificant run, but
2.5 years at the top.
I wore this t-shirt today with the Ultimate Warrior, and no less than 4 people was like, Warrior, love him. You know, just in my day-to-day things. He was around for such a short time in reality, but he made such a huge mark. And, you know, wrestling, the moves don't matter. The promo, the words in the promo don't matter. It's the feeling that you get, that, you know, that performer makes you feel, that is always remembered. And nobody did that better in such a short amount of time.
Those are all really good points. Those are all really good observations.
What does he mean to you?
Oh, me? Like, it's tough to talk about, like, without getting, like, I know it sounds dumb, but, like, it's tough to talk about without getting emotional, because wrestling means so much to me. But, like, looking at everything, like, the way his story ended, you cannot have a better ending to your story. But even though it was a tragedy.
Yeah, that's what his daughters are saying.
Yeah, but, I mean, Tom, but you know what I mean.
I know, I'm joking.
Like,
yes. No,
this is a guy
write it better.
Who completely turned his life around at the end of it, mended all the broken bridges. But the Warrior character, whereas Hogan was about being cool and my ape hangers and my Harley and my tan, the Warrior made you believe you could be something bigger than what this life has to offer you. You could be like all of his imagery was so positive, and it was like, you know, if you're a warrior, you can overcome everything. You can overcome any enemy. You can overcome any obstacle. And I know that's corny and silly, but like, if you just go back and look at the promos, man, it's so positive though. Like, it's such a positive, for lack of a better word, because Beast hit the nail on the head. You looked at this dude like he was an alien. He wasn't real.
Not cheesy.
Right.
Like Hogan was cheesy.
Yes. Like, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and Warrior's like, don't back down from anybody. I have the power. You have the power. And it's like you said earlier, to your point, he was like a Martian Tony Robbins. Like, he's just a maniac. But like, I don't own many wrestling t-shirts. It's either NWO or Ultimate Warrior. And it's the Ultimate Warrior because I think that he is such a positive character. And he's not corny and he's not cheesy. And I think, if he was doing this today, he'd be a super mega good guy because he's not Cody Rhodes, with the suit and the tie and holding the children. He would be more like Stone Cold Steve Austin, but like magical. If that makes any sense. But Warrior's such a great character. And next week, when we come back, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of his comeback to WWE, his immediate departure after that comeback, his unfortunate World Championship Wrestling stint, his match overseas. But the best part of next week, gang, I'm telling you this right now, the best part of next week is going to be when we talk about the end of the Ultimate Warrior. So tune in next week, 6 to 8 p.m. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you next week. Peace!
Save big on brunch for mom, All in the Kroger app. Get pints of juicy blueberries for $1.99 each with a digital coupon. Then buy 2, get 2 free on 6 packs of delicious Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or 7-Up with your card. Shop these deals at your local Kroger, less than 5 miles away. Or tap the screen now to download the Kroger app to save big today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Prices and product availability subject to change. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Live from the internet's red carpet, it's Verbo's 2025 Vacation Rentals of the Year. Selected from over 2 million private vacation rentals, this year's list features the best of Verbo. And with weekly discounts on select stays, they might be more affordable than you think. See the list at verbo.com and make it a Verbo.
Coming to you live from the Superbook Sports Studios in Kettering. You're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
The way that they're defending right now and locked in defensively, led by Draymond Green, the anchor, this team is still dangerous.
The Warriors are 7-5 without Curry on the floor, including the regular season and playoffs. On the NFL, where the Panthers are moving on from 3-time Pro Bowl edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney, just one season of a 2-year, $20 million deal. Carolina also placed running back Jonathan Brooks on the PUP list with his second ACL injury in 13 months, and he will miss the entire 2025 season. Meanwhile, Joel Quenneville is returning to the NHL with the Ducks for his first head coaching job since he resigned and was banned from the league for his handling of a sexual assault scandal during his tenure with the Blackhawks. The second winningest coach in league history spent parts of 25 seasons behind the benches of St. Louis, Colorado, Chicago, and Florida. And 5-time Olympic champion Sue Bird is giving another assist to USA Basketball, becoming the first managing director of the women's national team. It's a move similar to what the U.S. men's national team does with Grant Hill. Bird says it's win, gold, or bust as the Americans won 8 straight, including the Paris Games.
What's up, kiddos? Clinton Yates here. Coming up on Friday, we'll react to the lone NBA game of the night between the Warriors and the Timberwolves and bless your ears with Freestyle Friday, kiddos. That's Friday on Clinton and Friends at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
To Dallas, Texas.
I'm ready.
How about them Cowboys? To you. This is Amber and Ian on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and on SiriusXM Channel 80.
We are about 30 minutes away from Warriors Timberwolves Game 2 getting underway. When it does, of course, we'll keep you updated on the live action right here on Amber and Ian. Amber and Ian is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You can find him at Ian Fitz ESPN. You can find me as well at Amber W Sports. Let's continue to get you ready for that matchup. For that, we bring in Danny Green, ESPN NBA analyst. And Danny, thanks so much for your time as always. Obviously, no stuff for the Warriors tonight because of that hamstring strain. Did you ever have a hamstring strain in your career?
Definitely. I mean, you play enough games. We play long enough, you definitely have one. So I've been lucky and blessed enough to play a pretty long time. So, yes, I've had multitude of injuries, hamstrings being one of them when I was younger and then when I was older. Healed a lot faster when I was younger, and it still took about 2 weeks to get back 100%. Older, it takes a little longer, but it seems to be happen more frequently when you start turning 37. So, yeah.
Hey, so it felt like to me, though, Danny, that this grade 1 with Steph, that he may have been overselling it a little bit. Part of me just watching it feels like he's playing a bit of possum. What do you think?
I don't know about that one. I don't think you oversell a hamstring. It's one of those things that it's hard to detect because it feels good enough to where you think you can play until you accelerate. That's why it's tricky. And you have the risk of making it worse and popping and being out longer. So it is tricky, but no, I don't think he's playing possum on this one.
The only reason I say that, like, I've had him too, man, and it stinks, and you do have to be patient, but the way that the words he was describing, gut punch and crushed, and part of me looks like going, man, Game 6, I would not be surprised if they can get to Game 6 if he's back out there.
I'd be very surprised.
Okay, here we go. Come on, go.
I think he really knows that it's a serious issue, and there's a gut punch because he's not able to help his group out and be a part of, I think he's going to be out for at least 2 weeks, and he's not going to be able to finish this series, which ultimately will be the end of I think the end of their playoff run. And then after that, you don't know how long, what the window is like for them to win. So I think that's why he knows it's a gut punch all around, not just for career-wise. It's like, is this the last of it? It's not as bad as Dame Achilles, but this is one that is ending possibly their season. And, that's not the way he wanted to so happening.
It's remarkable that Steph hasn't had a hamstring injury up to this point in his career, frankly, and that he has made it
very, very
this far into his career. That's pretty wild. Warriors Timberwolves tonight, 8:30 p.m. Danny Green on with us, getting us ready for that matchup. So you ultimately think the Warriors are probably not going to be able to survive this. But if, in fact, they were to survive tonight and go up 2-0, what would Jimmy Butler need to do?
Score of 60. No, he's probably have to get he's tried to show us playoff Jimmy and uplift his group, but he'd have to do a lot of scoring, 40 plus, and Buddy'd have to score, 30, 20, 30. But yes, he's going to have to do it on a multitude of levels, and he's going to have to get help from Draymond and Kuminga and Gary Payton II. Obviously Buddy's got to be Batman or Robin anyway, as you will. So yeah, he's going to need a lot of help. It's going to be hard to do it alone.
Danny, you're a three-time NBA champion, man. When a player gets challenged publicly after a playoff loss, and a great player like Anthony Edwards was by his head coach, Chris Finch, saying, hey, we got to have energy, and he didn't have it, and guys follow him. What do you expect to see from a star player after they are publicly challenged in the playoffs by their head coach?
I expect to see him respond aggressively and with a lot of energy, fierce, and all those other words you can think of him playing, the opposite of what they played in game one. So I don't see them shooting that poorly, and I see him coming with a different approach, mentally, physically, emotionally, all the above, because he's just not gonna. I don't even think he needed from his coach, but it only helps, add more fuel to the fire for him to be motivated for this next game.
Ant got it going some in the fourth quarter there of game one, but before that, not so much. And frankly, the entire Minnesota offense was atrocious for the majority of the game. What do you chalk that up to, Danny? Was that just bad shooting night, or was that something the Warriors defensively that was special?
A little bit of both. I have to give credit to the Warriors. They mucked it up, they junked it up, but ultimately, Timberwolves shot poorly, so they didn't have the energy that Finch was talking about. They didn't move the ball like they know, I guess, the way they did, against the Lakers in a couple games in that series. So, yeah, they just had a bad shooting night, and the Warriors did a great job of mucking it up and playing good defense.
How does that happen? I mean, when it comes to, not a lot of energy or the effort was go back to Kawhi Leonard. It's game 7, and he's taking at the podium after the Nuggets series. Well, the effort wasn't there. You're talking about energy with the T-Wolves. Well, the energy wasn't there. How does that happen in the playoffs?
I mean, it's a combination of things. It's not something that you come out with that approach and that you want to happen, but sometimes a team can take energy. That usually what happens. You come out with that a mental attitude, and then they just jump on you. And next show, you kind of just lose focus, and you lose, I won't say interest, but you kind of just get the air knocked out of you, and it's hard to regain it mentally.
We know what Buddy Hield did in Game 7. Danny Green on with us, by the way. We know what Buddy Hield did in Game 7 in the first round. And then in Game 1, he was still pretty spectacular there. And I was surprised the Timberwolves allowed him to be when we knew that he had just had the game of his life there, frankly, in the first round. What do you think's going on with Buddy Hield? And are the Wolves going to have a more of an opportunity here to shut him down? Or is he just so hot right now that there is no shutting him down from the outside?
No, they can do so. They just lack of scouting report, but he's hot. He's in rhythm. He's confident. But I'm sure they're going to do a better job. They're going to have different defenders on him and not let him get free. But he's a special talent. He's a guy that was once looked at as I wouldn't say a franchise player, but when he was in Sacramento, he was a key first, second option. He was one of those guys that can score in different bunches. So he's not an easy guard, but it'll be different for them.
Danny Green, a three-time NBA champion, spent a decade and a half in the NBA, joining us here on ESPN Radio with Amber Wilson. I'm Ian Fitzsimmons. Go over to the East really quickly. The Knicks are down 20 in back-to-back games and find a way to win. What does that say about the Knicks, and what does that say about the Celtics?
Says a lot about both groups. I mean, the Knicks show a lot of character. They fight, and they'll never quit. They stayed in it. The Celtics, they just, lack some maturity and some discipline, as you've seen, and that's rare for a team that's a championship team.
Is there any bouncing back here for the C's?
I believe so. I believe they'll bounce back a game or so. I don't know if they'll win the series for them, but if anybody's capable of doing so, I think they are.
How? How? Quit shooting threes?
One game at a time. It's not 3-0, it's 2-0. One game at a time. There's been teams that have been down 0-2. I've been down 0-2 before. Usually not at home, but you can win. Their team is very capable of winning 4 straight. You forget they were up 20 in both those games, and they lost them. So keep the lead. Stop going in lulls where you don't score for 7-8 minutes, and I think you win the game.
Only let the Knicks come back 15, not 20, and then you'll be good to go.
18.
One more
not
for
20.
you. One more for you, Danny. I should ask you about OKC Denver, because I felt like after game 1, everybody was saying, oh, look, OKC, they're just a regular season team. They're not ready for the moment. And then game 2, they come out and certainly make a statement. They walloped Denver there. How do you feel about that series now that it's split?
My mind hasn't changed. I thought OKC was a better team, and I didn't think because they lost game 1 that they wasn't going to win the series. They made a statement game, but it said it was an impressive win, but not impressive enough to me. You gave up home court. I think it's going to be a good series. I think it's going to go 6 or 7 games. Ultimately, it said OKC is a better team, so they should win. But the fact that they lost game 1 just showed that they're inexperienced and they're once again immaturity. We've seen a lot of that in these playoffs where teams have given up 20-point leads and lost games at home.
Yes, that has certainly been a theme. That series gets going again with game 3 tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Again, Warriors, Timberwolves, that's the action tonight in about 20 minutes from now. Danny Green, you can check him out all over our network. He's our ESPN NBA analyst. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, guys. You guys have a good one.
You too.
Coming up next here on Amber and Ian, do we really believe LeBron James is undecided about his NBA future? We will hear from LeBron next right here on ESPN Radio.
NBA playoffs continue on ESPN Radio. The Pacers storm into Cleveland and win games 1 and 2 against the top-seeded Cavs. Now we head to Indianapolis for a critical game 3. Coverage begins tomorrow at 7 Eastern with tip-off at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. Presented by Indeed.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. A jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599 right now and get 50% off installation with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub today with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you have lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599. 800-717-4599.
The Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers. Weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits.
Pirates.
Back there on its way. Goal! And the Pirates win.
The Braves at the Pirates. Coverage begins Saturday at 3:30 Eastern with first pitch at 4:05 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. Presented by Progressive Insurance.
Hey, Steve, let me ask you a question. When did you lose your manhood, sir?
I think the better question is, when did I lose my sanity by taking calls from you?
Hall Fight On. Weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and the SEC Network.
This is Freddie and Harry on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We keep waiting for that day that Steph Curry is going to look somewhat mortal, but boy, oh boy, he is not going to stop doing what he does. Yeah, the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be a better basketball team, maybe a worse matchup in the second round. But when you have that magic man on the other side and everybody being able to raise their level just a little bit, don't put anything past the magic man known as Steph Curry.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Fridays, I help you get ready for the weekend. The biggest stories of the week, as only First Take can present them. We start at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.
The NBA playoffs continue on ESPN Radio. The Pacers roll again.
Up for three, knocks it home.
The Indiana Pacers storm into Cleveland and win games 1 and 2 against the top-seeded Cavs. Now the series shifts to Indianapolis for a critical game 3.
Takes the three and hits it. Wow. Donovan Mitchell.
Game 3 of the Cavs and Pacers. Coverage begins tomorrow at 7 Eastern with tip-off at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. Presented by Indeed.
Are going at it right now. The Caps are up 1-0. There's about 14 minutes left right now in the second period in that game. Later tonight, Oilers, Golden Knights. They're going to get it going at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Ian is not invested in either of those series, but he's rooting for the Caps, even though he hates Ovechkin.
Kind of. It's just because of, a bunch of high school friends are all Caps fans, having gone to high school and in Rockville, Maryland, in the D.C. area. So I guess I'm pulling.
Complicated relationship there.
It really is.
For him and his hockey allegiance.
Yes, they beat my Blue Jackets back in 18. I don't want to get into it. Let's go.
Less complicated on the NBA side, though. Now, maybe still complicated for one LeBron James because he is no longer playing NBA basketball, at least not for the moment. Now, is he going to be playing NBA basketball in the future? That is the question. Amber and Ian is presented to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you have a bet till your hands bleed? Should we hit that first?
Come on with it.
Well, I'll tell you what I know. It's the dumbest bet I ever heard of. I disagree.
Freddie and Fitzsimmons.
Oh, Freddie and Fitzsimmons.
Oh, Freddie and Fitzsimmons. That was a throwback.
That's old school, man. I didn't know it was Is this a Throwback Thursday? Is that what we're doing here?
Throwback Thursday, baby.
Bet till your hands bleed.
We could hit like a Joe and Amber next.
It's like a decade with Freddie and I, man. Freddie, all of a sudden, if Freddie's listening at PTSD, no, I got rid of that guy. I'm done with him.
The Yankees aren't playing tonight. The Knicks aren't playing tonight. The Rangers aren't playing tonight.
Cardi, I love you, buddy. Bet to your hands, please. We are 14-9-1.
Sorry.
1-1.
Cardi's like, what show am I working on? I don't know. Ian's here. Close enough.
I got one of them right. Hey, he's hitting 500. That's Cooperstown, right? There you go.
That's true.
We went 1-1 last night. We had the Celtics. We had OKC. Hell yeah. That was a no sweat bet. So tonight, 14-9-1 against the number. We are going with the T-Wolves. By the hook on ESPN bet 10.5. Buy it down to 10. I think the T-Wolfies roll. And the only thing that concerns me a little bit, when you're missing a star player on a team, sometimes everyone else just takes their level up. I think that having gotten one already in Minnesota, we're going to see the T-Wolves and especially Anthony Edwards show up. I would expect seriously, a 35-10 type effort from the Ant-Man. Give me the T-Wolves. I took him heavy. Bet to your hands bleed.
I like the Timberwolves tonight as well. I feel like it's a real bounce-back opportunity for the T-Wolves, and they need to come out and make a statement, especially against a short-handed Warriors team. We'll keep you
Golden State plus a 10.
We'll keep you updated on that action when it tips off in about 12 minutes from now. But let's talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron has a lot of time right now to work on his podcast, Mind the Game. So that's what he's doing. He's talking. He's giving us the nuggets. Let's start with him talking about why his team, the Los Angeles Lakers, lost to that Minnesota Timberwolves team that's about to tip off tonight.
Going back, analytically seeing if there was ways what could I have done better, what we could have done better, thinking about the individual matchups, thinking about their team versus our team, things where we could have did better. It all has entered my mind since Wednesday night when it was over with. Obviously, I've come to grips with it now, with it being, quite a few days after the fact, and watching a lot of the other series now and seeing how they unfold. But yeah, you said it, man. I've had all those emotions, to the point where it's like, what the we entered the season well, but like you said, when it comes to the postseason, man, matchups sometimes doesn't determine how well of a regular season you had. It's the matchups, and we ran into a damn good matchup, a team that's been battle tested, a team that's hungry, a team that a lot of youth, but also experience at the same time, and another team that's trying to make the next step. And they were a worthy opponent, that's for sure.
They were a terrible matchup for the Lakers. Everything he said there was...
Yeah, they got bullied.
Yeah, everything he said there was dead on. And he recognizes that. And I think he recognizes that they were outmatched and also could not find a way defensively against that Minnesota team. And we knew that those issues might come up in the postseason, especially when they got that draw. They were going to have to get through the Timberwolves at some point, though, even if it wasn't in the first round, and they weren't going to get it done. That's the reality of how the Lakers are currently constructed. And then also Luka coming in halfway through the season. It's Luka and it's LeBron, but them figuring out how to play together and then how to build around Luka, because frankly, this is Luka's team, Ian, and they're going to look at that blueprint from the Dallas Mavericks and how they built so well around Luka.
I thought it was so comical how so many people, after J.J. Redick stayed up all night coming up with some kind of a plan, you know where I'm going with this, Amber, I see you smiling, against the Denver Nuggets, because they don't have a big, meaning the Lakers. They're so small. How are they going to match up with a guy like Jokic or any other team when it comes to size? And JJ was like, I stayed up all night in the lab.
For a game in the regular season.
A game. In the regular season.
Yep.
Whole different animal. He knows it. LeBron knew it. But so many former players that are analysts here or any other network are going, boy, maybe this team does have something. One guy on the national stage that was a former player that said, man, this is a joke. This is pathetic. This team will get bounced in the first round, was Charles Barkley. He's going, we're not giving any credit to OKC or any of these other teams that have done something since game one to right now. But we're going to go ahead and shine all over the Lakers for one game against the Nuggets. One? Well, guess what? It ain't a one-game series. You're not one and done. This is not the NCAA men's or women's basketball tournament. It is a 7-game set. And guess what? They got exposed in a 7-game set. They are not big enough. They don't have enough size. They need more speed. They need a lot. And look, getting Luka was just a fleece by a plastique Rob Lowe. Does it extend LeBron's career? We'll hear from him on that coming up in a moment, where I'm assuming he'll be kind of like hemming and hawing as Aaron Rodgers did and Tom Brady before him.
They really are all cut from the same cloth, especially LeBron and Aaron Rodgers. There's some similarities there.
Oh, my gosh. Outside of wife and kids, yes. The professional athlete.
Well, and probably the ayahuasca, too. I don't know if LeBron's doing that.
Let's just go, well done. From a professional standpoint, right? Just the athlete. Well, that is a remarkable comparison. We could put like bios up, next to them as far as hemming and hawing, and it would
be
age, very similar, without a doubt. But bottom line is, man, everyone made this big deal out of one damn game. Guess what? It ain't one damn game, and the T-Wolfies right now going up again for game 2 against the Golden State Warriors, and LeBron's sitting on a barber chair talking to Steve Nash.
Right. It's why I was beating my head against the wall a little bit when everyone wanted to hand J.J. Redick Coach of the Year. And it's not that I don't think J.J. did a fine job this season. He did. But I do think some of that was coming from the fact that, and understandably so, most of the people who work here worked with him and really liked him, from what I understand.
It's a brilliant basketball mind.
Right. So I think that there's some of that goes into the evaluation there. And then also I think some of it is where J.J. Redick started, where he had no coaching experience. So now I feel like he's getting graded on that curve a little bit, where we're like, oh, look how amazing he's doing considering he has no experience. which is true, but also not necessarily the fair way to evaluate him when you stand next to the other coaches in the league. And so, in other words, I think he was getting a bump because of those things in terms of the narrative surrounding J.J. Redick. We saw in the postseason, J.J. Redick still has quite a bit of growth as a coach. He still has places to go and things to learn. And that's fine because he doesn't have that experience, and that's a risk that the Lakers were running by hiring a first-time head coach who, again, handled the regular season pretty darn well. But this is when experience, the postseason is when experience matters from a player's perspective and from a coaching perspective. It always seems to bite teams in the postseason. Let's get to his comments about his future because I don't want to run out of time to be able to do this. And of course, we have to hear LeBron, as Ian said, hemming and hawing about his future in the NBA.
Well, obviously, number one is to get back healthy. I'll be able to do some small stuff within the next week or two just to kind of get the mobility back into the knee and things of that nature. My youngest son is headed off to college soon, so